The storm clouds appear to be brewing for Tottenham Hotspur involving manager Mauricio Pochettino, or is he simply the head coach? It seems he's not sure. In his latest press conference, he's actually caught a lot of attention by what he said regarding transfers. Certainly, as we take a look at what he said, I'm not in charge, he says. I know nothing about the situation of my players. I'm only coaching them and trying to get the best from them. Sell, buy players, sign contract, not sign contract. I think it is not in my hands. It's in the club's hands and Daniel Levy. So, Shaka, what do you make of the comments, first of all?
Strange from Mauricio Pochettino, but at the same time, understandable. Listen, Spurs have, and Pochettino in particular, have managed to remain competitive in the Premier League in a market where finances dictate so much successes. Yet still, they've not been that active in the transfer market over recent seasons. Dombele coming in this summer at breaking their record at £54 million, I thought was a good start to this summer, and what we've seen of him so far, an absolute bargain. He has stood out so far this summer. But given the lack of activity, given the fact that when they do bring players in, as they did with Lucas Moura, how successful they've been and how much Pochettino's been able to get out of this squad, and that the stadium is finally finished, I thought that Spurs and Daniel Levy would be loosening up the purse strings somewhat, and they'd be far more active in the transfer market, in trying to keep a pace with the top two. Yet still, it's been anything but. And again, yes, as much as I recognise that they brought Dombele in, I thought there'd be more, especially when you consider, I didn't think Danny Rose would still be at Spurs. Alderweireld still seems a little bit of an enigma. I'm not quite sure, 25 million, I thought somebody would come in and buy him, but he's still there. Does he want to stay? Is he going to leave? Eriksen and the interest from Real Madrid, again, a lot of question marks as to whether he would still be at Spurs during the course of this season. Has his head been turned? Would he be as good and as effective as a result? So I just feel that there are a lot of questions up in the air that Pochettino would like to have answered before the season starts, but he doesn't feel that he's in a position to answer them or quite strangely, even in a position to be asking those questions.
Watching the whole thing unfold was really quite unsettling, I would imagine, from a Spurs fan's perspective, because it wasn't as if it was a comment that was just thrown away. He was asked 2 or 3 times on the subject, and he had nothing further to add, and he seemed to get even more irate about it in terms of, does this open up the door as to really what happened over the last 2 windows where they didn't sign players? Maybe there is a lot more to it than just stadium finance.
Yeah, I think, well, I thought it was all about stadium finances, but even so, you're building a new stadium, you have to remain competitive. And Spurs have done that somehow or the other. The other thing I think that got thrown into the mix is the fact that Pochettino heavily linked with a move away from Spurs. And he felt that maybe a little bit frustrated. I mean, part of it is a big deal. Part of it is his own doing in signing a new 5-year deal. But Real Madrid, I think there was genuine interest. I think there remains genuine interest from Manchester United. You feel that the fact that he's still here, certain assurances were made to him as a manager, despite his 5-year contract. Yet still, those promises have not been delivered. And you understand his frustration. You continue to do wonders with this squad on a shoestring budget without really strengthening it. And that has an impact not just on the manager, but just in terms of the squad in itself. They want to feel that they're being backed and their efforts are being rewarded. And yet still, everybody's continuing to punch well above their weights. So you understand. And if Spurs aren't active in this transfer window, there often isn't a whole lot of business to be done in January. I think not just Pochettino, but there'll be any number of players who will feel rightly frustrated and start wondering, about their own futures this time next year.
It does feel like a snapping point. He's laying the bedrock, really, for a departure if things don't shape up in the next 10 days or so. Could be because they haven't had the targets arrive. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're just not available. Maybe the money isn't there. Maybe that's what the disagreement is over. Maybe he's been told to simply stick to the pitch and to coach the players. But it does feel as if he's at a crossroads now.
And again, I totally sympathise, and rightly so. because I can't think of a manager who's done a better job on less resources than Mauricio Pochettino in any of the big leagues, somehow remaining competitive. And I feel that promises were made, and when you make promises to a manager and you don't deliver on those promises, at some point that manager is going to snap. And Mauricio Pochettino, more than anybody else, has also stuck to the party lines in terms of what the club want him to say and the messages that they want to put out, despite his own frustrations. So to get this far and again be frustrated in another transfer window, you've got to feel for Pochettino at this point.
Okay, so Tottenham Hotspur appear to be dealing with a whole host of issues ahead of the big Premier League kick-off. Of course, their first full season at the new stadium. It's less than a couple of weeks away. We'll see if the mood brightens between now and then.